Rebuilding the Stuart Twin Victoria. This is part 7. When I was buying this engine, I noticed a few problems, which did not get any better once I started to run it. The Stuart model's factory machine kit is quite well made, but the quality of assembly is not good, and once again the fits between the parts have been modified during construction. A couple of days ago I developed a really sore throat, immediately followed by a sore chest and an almost total loss of my voice, which was very peculiar. At first I thought maybe it's COVID-19, but a PCR test proved negative. Thankfully my immune system must be good. I'm now on day 3 of whatever this is. But yesterday my voice dropped a full octave, and even though I tried to voice over the video yesterday, it was impossible. Thankfully my voice is now returning to normal. Well, almost anyway. It's very clear from this image that the hole in the crankweb has been enlarged, and it's a bit of a rattle fit on the crankshaft, which is no good at all. Also, the crankshaft itself is a little bit short, as you can see, and furthermore this is not the fault of the man who put it together. I really can't live with this for a couple of reasons. One being that the crankshaft doesn't look right when it's all assembled. I thought I would try a quick fix to see if it worked. I'm going to fix the crankweb to the crankshaft using Loctite 603, then repin it. With a few gentle hammer blows, I tapped the pin back into position. But unfortunately, I made a mistake with this job. I like to show mistakes because if you see me making them, then possibly you won't. I refitted the crank pin, tightened up the nut, using this pair of pliers where the inner part of it is about the same diameter as the head of the crank pin. I'm tightening the nut using my Barco spanner as usual. After completing the tightening of the crank pin, I should have left this job just as it is here for a couple of hours at least. But no, instead, almost immediately, I turned on the compressed air to run the engine, which was a stupid thing to do. Initially, the engine sounded much better. The tapping noise had disappeared more or less. To make things worse, not only is the Loctite 603 not fully cured, applying copious amounts of oil in this area was not good. This engine has a very strange stiffness about it. If I leave it overnight and then turn the flywheel, it's like it's stuck, then it frees off and runs. This is where it went wrong when I lubricated the bearing. The ticking noise reappeared almost immediately. Also, as usual, I don't think the timing is 100%. It's better than it was because the Loctite is at least filling the gap between the crankweb and the crankshaft. So for the moment it's not too bad. By applying some pressure to the flywheel, I put the engine under quite a strong load. And now it's time for the self-destruct test. A few days ago I had a visitor, a young man called James Evans. He has a YouTube channel called T's Cottage Guide Productions. Because of the current state of my voice and the general pronunciation, I'll put the text on screen. In case you're wondering what T's Cottage is, please Google it. James makes videos, and so far he's doing quite well. He's only 16 years old. At this stage, I thought I would tap the pin into the crankshaft at the other side. Anyway, James Evans and his mum Liz came down to see me, and he brought me an engine to fix. It was one that he'd recently bought via eBay. It was a Stuart No. 10V with reversing gear, and it was a thorough mess. After about an hour of messing about with this engine and showing James everything that was wrong with it internally, including the fact that the slide valve was held in place by a nut wedged in it, which made it so that the slide valve wasn't on the port face. I did manage to get the engine to run, but it didn't run very well, and it soon stopped when I turned up the air pressure for the destruct test. You will notice that I always run the engines very fast because it's better if they break down in my workshop than when I give them back to the customer. I suggested that he sent the engine back to the seller, and thankfully there was a 30-day return period stated in the listing. After playing about with the engine's timing, the tapping noise had got worse. It wasn't too bad at this speed, but when I slowed down the engine, the clicking became more apparent. And once again, as I applied a load to the flywheel, it sounded a lot better. That's because everything is tighter and under more pressure. It's very clear to me that this engine is going to have to come apart. The more I ran the engine, the worse it got. And in this slow motion clip, despite the fact that I used Loctite 603, you can clearly see that once again the crank web is loose on the crankshaft. This is no good at all, so I'm going to dismantle the engine, which will be in the next episode. And by that time, I hope my voice returns to normal. In the slow motion clip that you've just seen, I also slowed the audio down, so it makes a really good noise as I move the crank web. There are a few more things to put right on this engine. The crosshead linch pin works loose and comes out of the blocks. And the crossheads are not a very good fit in the crosshead guides. Each of the piston rods needs a lock nut on the end where it's secured to the block. Having said all that, once I put it right, this factory machine kit will be really good. And I think I'll be keeping this engine as well as the Grasshopper beam as part of my collection. Overall, the quality of the machining of the engine is very good. The first thing I'm going to do is make a new crankshaft. Then I'm going to address the problem with the crosshead guide spacings. Then I will remove both of the pistons to have a look at them because I think there's something wrong there. That's it for this episode. My throat is starting to get sore again. I think a day on the settee playing Skyrim is the order of the day. And in case you're not familiar with the word Skyrim, it's a computer game that runs on my Xbox One X, and it's very entertaining. Basically, you wander around a really attractive landscape, meeting people, picking flowers, and then killing the people. It could be called a beginner's guide to mass murder, and I'm currently on level 133. Stay safe, stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.